Now I will like to invite on the stage our last presentation, Siiri Pank and Theodora Kormpaki from Estonia. And they will highlight the tension between permanence and preservation in public display, exhibition of coats of arms of Estonian Knighthood. The floor is yours.
Thank you. As you see, we are more authors of this article. Eliis Otti from Kanut and Aaresild from Estonian History Museum. And today we will present the conservation and the exhibition of coat of arms of Estonian Knighthood. The coat of arms of the noble families were shown at the Great Hall of the Estonian Knighthood house, and most of them are dated from the 19th century. The collection was removed from the walls between 1923 to 1924 after the establishment of Estonian Republic and the change of the building function. The collection is part of Estonian History Museum Foundation since 1951, where 280 pieces arrived in the museum. In 2016, the National Heritage Board approved a renovation project in order for the Estonian Knighthood House to become the statehood house. And one aspect was to restore the building to its authentic condition and reinstall the coat of arms to its original location. From the museum perspective, a fundamental question arose regarding the balance between the authenticity requirements of a historical interior renovation and the obligation to ensure the long-term preservation of such a unique, fragile collection. I have to mention that then a lot of objects were in a poor condition, and weren't conserved yet, way earlier, some of them. When in 2020, the proposal to reinstall the collection in the Great Hall reached our museum collections management, we found that existing professional opinions of the condition of the coats of arms and their suitability for permanent display were fragmented and inconsistent. So the museum proposed the formation of a new expert commission from various Estonian memory institutions assembled in cooperation with the government office. This commission comprised of mostly paper and polychromy conservators, alongside art historians, and was tasked with three goals: to assess the condition of the artifacts, propose a conservation method, and display conditions. So all objects were documented precisely, and some selection of artifacts documented instrumentally. The condition assessment that was generated was a 4-level classification system: good, fair, bad, and very bad. And here are the results. As you can see, most of the artifacts were in bad condition. This means in numbers 187 objects, and these, they presented extensive areas of both mechanical and chemical damages. Only 7 objects were in good condition. They had some mechanical damages, dust deposit, and slight deformation. And 40 objects were in very bad condition, so they were unsuitable to be displayed. As I mentioned, the second task of the expert commission was to suggest a conservation method, and for that the reason workshop was occurred in order to which was focused on the consolidation on the paint layers as they were very unstable and powdered. But Siiri will speak more about that.
So for Kanut Conservation and Digitalization Center, the works took more than a year, more like 18 months. And this is one of the guidance documents we had. This is a plan of coats of arms on the walls. And here you can see that the green marks represent good condition, yellow marks are fair condition, red ones are bad, and blue ones very bad. So as Theodora mentioned, and you can see here, most of the plan is red. So the other very important document, or the most important document for us as conservators, was this Excel sheet. This is only a very small part of it. And in this file, we as conservators could see what was the condition and assessment done by the experts in 2023. And here also expert committee proposed methods was listed. So we as conservators, we had all the decisions almost made for us. We had to implement the methods worked out so that the conservation process and the result was as uniform as possible. We had to mark on each case what treatment was done and also mention if something else had to be done. And in this document also, it was also marked which of the artifacts are going to be exhibited as originals and which one will be exhibited as replicas. So conservation, we had altogether 280 coats of arms. 245 were painted on cardboard. And the most prevailing problems for the cardboard coats of arms were the holes and tears, surface dirt, different stains, tarnished gold, oxidized silver, powdery pigments, craquelure and flaking paint. Coats of arms used to be put up on the walls using nails, which had caused several holes in the objects. And probably when they were removed in 1923, they were teared off the walls, so there was a lot of damage on the edges of the coats of arms. And we noticed that a significant number of coats of arms suffered cardboard loss. You can also see here that some of the edges are cut off. For what purpose, we don't know. We also saw quite some earlier repairs on the coats of arms, although we had no written record of it. And in many cases, we saw sketches on the backside of the coats of arms. When some were only light pencil drawings, the others already had gilded heraldic motifs on them, and they didn't correspond to the final design on the front edge. So for us, the conservation began with cleaning the front side with PU sponge, which was also tool for us to estimate the condition of the pigments on the front side. Cleaning gold and silver surfaces were the most time-consuming process. As you see here, coats of arms frequently presented large areas of gold or silver or both, but also minuscule details, as you can see here on the helmet. And gold surfaces needed to be cleaned. The process needed to be repeated to get the real luster back on the surface. Loose powdery pigments, flaking paint and craquelure was treated by applying glue with brush. The very time-consuming mist consolidation technique using nebulizer only had to be used for a couple of times. And then when holes, tears, and cardboard losses were repaired, watercolor retouching was carried out when and where necessary. We also had 35 coats of arms on metal surfaces. The main problems here were the chipped and scraped paint layer and rusting. And after cleaning the surfaces from dirt, rust spots were passivated. Then the thick layer of old yellow varnish was thinned off, and various chemicals were used for that. For example, ethanol, turpentine, white spirit, and nano-restore solutions. And final step was retouching with Maimeri Restauro paints, watercolor, and mica powder. And then as a protective layer, Paraloid P72 in ethyl acetate was added. All 280 coats of arms are digitalized. And now 86 excellent digital replicas are on the walls of the Great Hall. So the ones of you who will be there on Saturday, you can try to find them. Some of them are replacing the original artifacts that were in too fragile condition to be exhibited, and the others are on the vaulted area of the walls. Some duplicates were also digitally retouched. As you can see here, Graf Sievers's coats of arms before conservation, after conservation, and after the digital retouching. For exhibiting the coats of arms on the walls, a special solution, framing solution, was worked out. To ensure the stability of the frame, they were cut out as single piece from MDF block. Their octagonal shape mimics the shape of stucco frames on the walls. Each artifact is surrounded by several white and black cardboard passepartouts, which all are tailor-made according to the shape of the object. We framed altogether 224 coats of arms. For quite some time, one of our workrooms looked like a storage facility, with empty frames towering in every corner and passepartouts taking up most of the table space. The monotonous process of framing at one point resembled to the factory line. Materials come in at one end and packaged goods leave at the other. Altogether, 14 conservators, several specialists and partners worked on this project. It was a vast and complex, but also amusing one. Whenever we opened the cardboard folder holding the coat of arms, we never knew what was in there, and we were often surprised by the imagination of the design.
So, the long-term display of these sensitive artifacts is quite challenging in a space, especially in a space where venues are taking place, as fluctuations of environmental conditions, inappropriate light and handling could affect their condition. Structural changes and chemical reactions, photochemical reactions are agents that certainly affect the object condition. And what is most concerning is that these reactions may not be immediately visible but their effects will become apparent over time, causing irreversible damages. So for that reason, strict environmental conditions were established by the museum based on the suggestion that the experts commission has made. At the Great Hall is established a controlled ventilation system that keeps the climate in quite stable condition. According to light, UV filters and curtains are placed on the windows, and also dimmable LED lights are used. In order to monitor the environmental condition, loggers are placed in the room. And also, a blue wool standard card is used to control the intensity of light. This card is positioned within the same frame as the artifacts to ensure similar conditions of light exposure. And the frame is situated at a place where lights are closer to the objects. To sum up, from the museum's point of view, this project was about finding a workable balance between presenting an important part of cultural heritage and protecting a very fragile and unique collection for the future. For a conservation perspective, we must acknowledge that the permanent display of this entire collection carries inherent long-term risks. Because of this, the museum does not view that work or project as something that has finished, but rather as an ongoing process. Museum considered the continued monitoring of environmental conditions, preventing conservation measures, and the future reassessment of display strategies to be essential parts of the artifact's preservation. I have to mention that something that from expert commission also has was suggested is that artifacts should, the condition assessment is happen twice a year. Not of course all of them, but randomly. Achieving this requires cooperation between institutions, a careful adherence to conservation requirements, and most importantly, the willingness to replace original artifacts with high-quality replicas if their condition changes over time. Protecting the integrity of the collection remains the museum's highest priority. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic work, fantastic project, fantastic objects. Do you have some questions? Yes.
Hi, thank you for such a nice presentation. Yes, I am very interested because at the end you mentioned that you mentioned strict environmental condition, stable condition. You talk also about fluctuation. Can you be a bit more specific? What kind of fluctuation were there? And what does mean a strict environmental condition?
As I said, this is a place, an open place that venues could take part. And what was our, what I mean with strict environmental conditions, I mean that they are supposed to be in a museum. Where the temperature is as you see, temperature 18 to 21 degrees, relative humidity to be 40 to 50%, and to have illuminance level 50 luxes, which this is quite demanding for if there is an open place, but is vital to preserve the objects. And in the same place there is a possibility to have additional light through the 50 luxes. It is maybe a bit few if we have that, if there is a venue. But this is what the museum wanted, suggested to, in order to be displayed. Did I answer your question?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah, so I understood now this, thank you. But I didn't understand. So what was how bad it was? Like what were the fluctuations before?
Before we don't know actually, because the building was renovated to become the statehood house. So when the renovation finished, the objects went inside, and now the museum controls. Could it be? What is the climate? According to the parameters that the museum has given, they have tried to keep the climate in these levels.
Perfect, thank you.
Some more questions, maybe? Yes, we have.
Thank you, Hilka, from Estonian Academy of Art. You showed, thanks for that great presentation, but you showed the Excel sheet, yes, and you had a restored, conserved 280 goat farms, and you said that the expert committee already proposed the conservation method to each goat farm, yes?
No, not the each. They worked out the basic methods that could be implementable to all of the objects. As I said, we had 14 conservators working on the objects, so it was important that, so to speak, handwriting would be if not the same, then similar.
Okay.
So that's why.
Okay, but my question was more like, how much did you change during the conservation process, or did you develop the methodology, or did you change anything?
I joined the project when the conservation methods were already worked out. So I only took the Excel sheet and implemented it as much as possible. And I think finally we ended up, if making any, very little changes, because there was, the methods were implementable to almost everything, every object. So maybe Grete can add up something?
I can add to this question, yes, because yes, the methods were implemented, but through practice, conservators already knew which kind of surfaces can be treated which way. So some of the methods were put aside because they were not efficient enough, time efficient. But first, all these methods were tried out, as they mentioned before that there was a workshop before where they tried out. So everything was tried out, and then they took them in use, and in that process, they developed the best practices. Let's say that the Excel sheet will, with his markings, will say which one was the best or most used, but some parts were left out. For example, like the nebulizing process which was considered like good one, but very time consuming. It actually was only needed when they had more practice, more experience, was only needed in the most complicated cases. Is that? Yeah.
We have 10 more minutes for questions or discussions, so think loudly.
There are 2 questions there at the back.
Ruta from Pranos Gudinas Restoration Center in Vilnius. I want to ask you about retouching paints. What was, why they are so different? Maybe because you applied for different, on cardboard object or metal. Can you a little bit more explain, please?
If I understood your question correctly, I will try to show you. These ones are the coats of arms on cardboard. And the idea on the retouching was that, first of all, the conservators filled the dark background repairs, and if necessary, then heraldic motifs was also retouched. And here, these are the coats of arms on metal surfaces, which were a bit better preserved color-wise, because as you see here, even the before pictures are quite legible. So the heraldic motifs, you can understand what is on it. And then this is the digital retouching process. This is, of course, very, how to say, damaged example of it, but this is why this is the coats of arms that couldn't be exhibited because of the fragile state, and the digital retouching was made to make it more understandable or visually coherent.
Thank you for your answer, but I would like to ask where you applied primary paints and where you applied watercolors.
The cardboard coats of arms were retouched with watercolors, and metal surfaces, there were primary restauro paints used.
Thank you.
I saw 2 hands. Okay, one question. I have very small, stupid, rhetorical question to line up. Should museums or public places prioritize today's audience or future generations? You have 150 originals on display and 80 some copies, as I understood.
86
Yeah.
copies. Yeah.
86.
Will there be a day when there are 100% copies on display?
No, we have to understand that most of these artifacts, they were before stored in storerooms for almost 100 years. They were in quite poor condition. So to display them nowadays in an open room is something that we can't precisely predict what is happening to the objects and how they adapt to the new condition. and in what base these changes occur. Even if we have no fluctuations in temperature and relative humidity, light it is a serious deterioration, and as it is a public room, the light values could not be all the time suitable. And I think that it could be happen at one time that they will replaced from replicas. And I think a long-term display of this kind of objects, it does not slow down the aging acceleration.
Thank you. So let's give an applause.